What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we're going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy A11 and the Samsung Galaxy A31. Now, I think this is actually a pretty interesting comparison because while both of these phones come from the same A series line, they're actually very different devices. And also, they aren't exactly like one step apart from one another. There's going to be an A21 released sometime soon as well that will fall in between these two phones in the lineup. But for some folks, depending on where you're located in the world or what wireless carrier you have, these two phones might actually be the options you have. They're obviously towards the bottom half of Samsung's A series lineup, so they're going to be a little less expensive, which is great. And it's mostly going to be a matter of what specific features you like with each phone. So in this video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know about the A11 and A31. I'll talk about their similarities, their differences, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to decide which phone is right for you if you're in the market for a new device. First off, let's talk about price. Since both of these phones are still relatively new, their prices have fluctuated a bit, but at least at the time of filming this video, the Samsung Galaxy A11 is available on Amazon for as low as $168 unlocked. And honestly, that's not a bad price at all. For the A31, I've seen this device listed for as low as $233 on Amazon. But again, just keep in mind that both of these phones will likely come down a little more in price in the coming weeks as more retailers get them in stock and more wireless carriers start offering deals with them. Either way you look at it though, the A11 is going to be at least $30 to $40 cheaper than the A31. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but at these prices, that's a 30% difference in cost, and it's certainly something to consider. And by the way, if you guys are interested in doing some comparison shopping of your own, or maybe want to buy one of these phones for yourself, I'll have links to where you can get them at their cheapest prices down below in the video description, so check down there so you don't miss out. Physically, these two phones are comparable, but I think the differences between the A11 and A31 are more significant than the differences between some of the other A series devices. Size-wise, both of these phones are technically 6.4-inch phones, but their housings and displays differ quite a bit. The A11 is actually a little taller, a little wider, and a little thicker than the A31, though the difference is so minor that it doesn't really affect anything. In regards to the materials, both of these phones have an all-plastic build, but the approach here is pretty different. The A31 has a full-fledged design across the back and a more premium and polished look. It even has some shiny accents all around, but again, keep in mind that everything here is still plastic. The A11 keeps things a little simpler, one color, one finish, no designs or accents anywhere. It looks more like a budget phone than the A31 does in my opinion, but again, looks are the only differentiating factor here. You aren't getting any nicer actual materials going with one phone over another. Taking a look around at everything else, these phones are set up pretty similarly, but there are a couple of differences. Both phones have their SIM and SD card tray on the left side. On the right, the power and volume buttons are placed in the same spot. The A11 has its headphone jack on top, while the A31 has its on the bottom, and down below, both phones have just one single speaker and the USB-C charging port. Across the back, we once again see some big differences. Now, I'll get into the cameras a little later, but I do want to mention the different fingerprint sensors. The A11 obviously has a physical fingerprint sensor on the back, while the A31 has a hidden fingerprint reader under the display. Now, I think this is mainly going to be a matter of personal preference, but I will say this. I think the A11's fingerprint reader is easier to find and use, and it's been more consistent in my own testing. It might just be a little quicker too, but again, I think it's just going to come down to which unlocking method you like more. Of course, both phones also have face unlock as well, so you can at least utilize that in addition to the sensors. In regards to the displays, we have a couple important things to consider. First off, Samsung went with two different designs across the front. The A11 has an Infinity O hole punch cutout that's usually reserved for the higher-end A-series devices, but for whatever reason, the camera cutout in this case is actually located at the top left corner as opposed to the center. While the placement is kind of strange, I think it sort of works for this phone, and I actually think it looks better than the Infinity U notch on the A31. The front camera on this phone I feel like is a bit more obvious and intrusive, but fortunately though, it doesn't really matter what design you go with. Neither placement has any advantage really, and it's just a matter of what you like. One other thing worth noting is if you really want to get picky, the bezels all the way around on the A11 are just a bit bigger than the A31. I think it's most noticeable with the bottom chin, and like I said, the A11 is slightly bigger than the A31 because of all that, but we're talking just a few millimeters of a difference. In regards to their actual display technology, this is where we start to see an even bigger difference between these two phones. The A11 is a true budget device, and with that you get a TFT LCD display with a resolution of 1560 by 720, packing in around 268 pixels per inch. With the A31, you're actually getting a Super AMOLED panel with a full 2400 by 1080 resolution and cramming in significantly more pixels per inch, around 411. Now here's the bottom line. If you are at all picky about the display, the A31 is the clear choice. It's brighter, it's sharper, it's more colorful and crisp. It's the significantly better display, and you're able to tell that from like 3 feet away. I don't think the A11 has a bad display at all. On its own, it's still a pretty good viewing experience, especially considering it's well under $200. I really don't have any complaints. But realistically, we're kind of comparing apples to oranges here. AMOLED versus LCD, 1080 resolution versus 720, there's just too much of a difference. I'll also say this though, for the price, I think the A31 has an awesome display, and the thing to consider here with this phone is that it has as good of a screen as the $300 and $400 A51 and A71 phones. So if you can spare the extra money and make the jump up, you're significantly closer to a higher priced mid-range phone on the A31, while the A11 is safely in that budget category. When it comes to the internal specs, once again, we've got some big differences between these two devices. Like I said already, the A11 is a true budget phone, and with that, you get budget specs. Inside, the A11 is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 processor and either 2 or 3 gigs of RAM. By comparison, the A31 packs the MediaTek Helio P65 processor and either 4 or 6 gigs of RAM. To put it simply, the A31 is going to be quicker launching everyday apps, and it's going to be the more capable and powerful device when you start to push it harder. I found that in general, the A31 often has a second or two at least over the A11 when launching most Android and third-party apps, and I think this difference is even more significant than a lot of other phone comparisons I've done so far. When it comes to gaming, the A31 pulls even farther ahead. Now, I do think you sort of have to evaluate your needs. There's nothing wrong necessarily with the A11 on its own. It's still a solid device with a good Android 10 experience. And if you're just casually launching apps, making phone calls, texting, browsing the web, stuff like that, it will get the job done. But anything more than that, especially gaming, I think it's a worthwhile jump to go with the A31 for sure. Powering these two phones are also two pretty different batteries, though in real-world use, we're actually getting similar results. The A11 packs a 4,000 mAh capacity battery, while the A31 has a 5,000 mAh capacity inside. This difference might lead you to believe that the A31 can go significantly farther, but you have to keep in mind that this phone has more powerful specs and a higher resolution display. All that means more power consumption, and at the end of the day, I personally haven't found one phone having much of an advantage over the other. And when it comes to charging speeds, you're dealing with the same capabilities. Both phones support only the 15-watt fast charging standard, and neither phone offers any sort of wireless charging at all. Finally, let's talk cameras. I think once again, you're going to see a big jump from one phone to another, but fortunately, Samsung has done a lot with the cameras on their A-series phones this year anyway, so both phones still do a pretty nice job. The A11 offers a triple lens setup around back, which includes a 13 megapixel f1.8 main lens, a 5 megapixel megapixel ultra-wide camera and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. The A31, on the other hand, offers a quad lens setup consisting of a 48 megapixel f2.0 aperture main lens, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens, a 5 megapixel depth sensor, and an additional 5 megapixel macro lens for super close photography. Neither phone can shoot 4K video, and the A11 is also missing the food filter too, but all in all, the A31 is going to take significantly better pictures and videos in every capacity. It not only has the better camera specs, but it also has the better internal processing power as well. And up front, with the selfie camera, it's the same story. The A11 has just an 8 megapixel f2.0 aperture lens, while the A31 packs a significantly better 20 megapixel selfie shooter. All in all, the A31 is going to offer a far better, more detailed, and more pleasing looking shot with both the front and rear cameras, no matter how you look at it. The A11 pictures and videos aren't bad, but once again, it's just not really much of a comparison. So here are my final thoughts. Jumping from the A11 to the A31, I think is actually a significant jump. The three things that stand out most to me are the better display, the more powerful specs, and the more capable cameras. But if you're strictly looking at value, the A11 at $168 is still a great phone. And if you're looking for a simple device that works with all the basic stuff, this is a phone that can certainly get the job done. In the end though, I think I'd just go ahead and spend the extra money and get the A31. It's going to be a better long-term investment anyway, and I think the added value and extra features make up for the slightly higher cost. So there you go, that's everything you need to know about the Samsung Galaxy A11 and A31. Let me know if you have any questions about these two phones, and also feel free to let me know which phone you'd choose in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.